You won't find this in a history book. Neither will you find it searching on Google, more than likely. But this is about the Black Amazons in defense of mother right. In this picture, you see a Libyan Amazonian queen, Penthesilea, who led her army of warriors against the Greeks during the Trojan War. She was eventually unalived by Achilles, who allegedly found her beauty so irresistible that he actually abused her body obsessively after she was unalive. That's how obsessed he was with her. But often referred to in Western history as mythological figures or as Europeans, the ancient Black Amazon, Amma meaning mother, Zan meaning son. The mother of the sun people is what the word Amazon means. And they were historic and they were African. Possibly considered the oldest militia were the Ethiopians, Egypto-Libyans, Scythians, and the ancient Colcaris of Colchis, I believe is how you say that, and what is now southern Russia. However, large garrisons of the Amazons were scattered all throughout the ancient world, including the Caucasus, Albania, the Athens, India, Armenia, Boeotia, which is central Greece, Atlantis, Asia, and even in North America. The Amazons were known under many names. Examples are the Azones, the Alizones, Syri, Cyrili, Chaldee, Mari, Chalebes, etc. They were the original shock troops fighting in defense of the ancient temples and kingdoms of the Black matriarchs, which is the mother right, which dominated the ancient world. It was the Black Amazons who were the first to domesticate and ride chariots and horses when the Greeks did not. They were the first to employ cavalry, and their superior weaponry was made of iron when the Greeks were still using bronze. This kind of reminds me of the movie The Woman King. And so this figure is a Greek vase of ancestral totemic ritual mask of Black Libyan Amazon who settled in ancient Crete and Athens more than 3,000 years before the Greeks. The mask represented the powerful talismanic, spirit of their founding ancestress, known by many names, including Medusa, Thano, Eurale. They were the first initiates of the African huntress, mommy goddess, known as Athena, Minerva, and Artemis, known as the Mask of Gorgon. It was worn only by the Queen Amazon mothers or the generals. It was the main source of spiritual power, physical strength, and maternal wisdom. And when worn during battle or ceremonial ritual, it evoked paralyzing fear into the hearts of the Greek and Spartan soldiers. It would literally freeze them to death in their tracks, which is where the myth turning men into pillars of stone originated. Talking about Medusa. Historians strike to dismiss the Black color of these ancient Greek vases depictions as just a Black lacquer art, but history has proved that the color is based on accurate accounts of the Amazons as Black and as African. As initiated priestesses of the tribe of the triple-headed Black warrior hunter fertility mommy goddess, Athena, Minerva, Artemis, their extraordinary knowledge of herbs and use of magic and ceremonial ritual to achieve political and military objectives was unparalleled. The Greeks bitterly referred to them as man unaliving, man unliking, flesh devouring, and fight, lustful, etc. I did exchange some of those words out so I don't trip the system. And these are directly responsible for many of the lies and myths circulating in history about them today. Far from being hostile, contingent of disaffected men unlikers. Higgins reports that these Black Amazons were actually the original followers of the male and female principles and fought to maintain the balance of both rather than the exclusive rule of the male-initiated system, the P word, being advocated by the sun priest of Amun. The Amazons were also the actual builders of the ancient temples of Astarte, Artemis, Minerva, Black Diana, Demeter, etc., and founded and named of all the city and provinces in which they settled and erected their temples. The Greeks, who feared and hated the Black Amazons, fought voraciously in battles against them. One of their most famous battles, which these fearless women warriors were in, was in Attica, which is an ancient Athens, which ended in a truce. Now, this picture is a picture of a bronze plate of an Amazon. It was the Black Amazon who were the first to domestic and to ride chariots and horses. They were the first to employ cavalry, and their superior weaponry was made from iron. The Greeks, who feared and hated the Black Amazons, fought voraciously against them. One of their most famous battles with these fearless women warriors was in Attica, in ancient Athens, which ended in a truce. The commander of the Amazons in Attica was a Black Egyptian queen, Eumolphus, who ordered that sacrifices be made to their ancestral deities by the Athenians. A stone pillar exists today in the Amazonium, erected to signify this truce because the Greeks could not defeat them. Lederer reports that the Greeks' willingness to go to battle against these Black Amazons were used as a measure of their courage, and that they, in facing the Amazons, faced not only their biological aversion against fighting with women, but also their own removing of their body parts. It's almost like a fear of being, having that particular part taken off of your body and anxiety around that. I have to substitute that word. But the Black Amazons were also the original megalith, cyclops, and Stonehenge builders. The original Stonehenge builders. And are credited with founding and building many of the ancient Ionians and Asian island cities, now credited to the Greeks. They were the actual builders of the ancient so-called biblical city of Ephesus, Corinth, and others. They also named all of these sacred cities, including Ephesus, which means moon city, which acted as their chief center of operations. Ephesus was eventually destroyed and rebuilt 7 times. The first in 1490 BCE, destroyed by one of the Amazons themselves. Rather than succumb to the hostile takeover of their temples by Egyptian priests and military leaders, they would destroy them themselves. It was also at Ephesus and Corinth where the converted Jew turned Christian, Paul, was made a saint by the Roman Church for helping to orchestrate the destruction of much of the ancient Black matriarch temples of Black Diana and forging Christianity upon its citizenry. As this male-led system, the P word, right, held sway around the world, the foreigners invaded An example, Assyrians, Greeks, Turks, Romans, and others on many occasions would often join forces with the Amazons' African male-centered forces, the enemies, in order to defend them and to defeat them, excuse me. The African male-centered forces, having superior knowledge of their ritual magic, therefore knew how to fight against these Amazons successfully. In fact, many of the epic tales recounting the greatness of Black heroes such as Hercules, Theseus, and others was due to them being able to defeat the Amazonian queens by stealing their ritual girdle, talismans, thunder axes, etc., thereby defeating the source of their enormous military might. Once conquered and destroyed, these men were hailed as heroes. Such was the case when Theseus killed unalive the sacred minotaur of the queen goddess, and when Hercules stole the sacred ancestral girdle of the Amazonian queen, Hippolyte, weakening her and then unaliving her entire army. This is a picture of Yahi, now deceased, one of the last remaining Amazonians in West Africa, far from being localized to only ancient Dahomey by Western historians. The Black Amazons, initiates of the African mommy deity Athena, Artemis, Ephesia, Black Diana, were the first organized battalion of female warriors in the world. They were a major militaristic contingency throughout all of ancient Africa in defense of their matriarchies. Historically, they were called Zan, Zoan, On, etc., and a host of other names. They conquered lands and founded cities and built extraordinary temples, naming them after themselves or after other queen mother or goddess. Heliopolis in northern Egypt was originally called Zoan. Cities in Thrace, Armenia, Cappadocia, ancient Turkey, in Caucasus, Albania, Athens, Attica, and elsewhere throughout the ancient world were founded and named after these fearless Black warriors. Over time, the Amazons were eventually defeated worldwide and erased from the annals of world history or relegated to Greek mythology. And might I add, also whitewashed. Their African identity and great history concealed. However, centuries later, in daring act of West Africa Dahomean King Agaja, from 1708 to 1732, a garrison of the Amazons were restored, an unprecedented move in which they served a man-centered ruler rather than their queen mothers. The entire history of the Black Amazons and the immense role they played in developing African spiritual history, culture, and military expansion throughout the ancient world is beyond the scope of this reading and could easily take volumes to actually write out. And that story is yet to be completed.